us to discuss Switzerland's tax reforms and new legislation is Thierry Boitelle from Bonnard Lawson international law firm. Welcome.
Thank you, Alex.
So let's start with the proposed draft legislation. Is it likely to affect the financial sector in Switzerland, and what effect could it have on private individuals?
Maybe let's start with the financial sector first. The reform has several sides to it. I think the financial sector can benefit from parts of the reform because part of the reform is aiming to reduce the corporate income tax in Switzerland. So potentially big banks in Switzerland will be able to benefit from reduced taxation on their profits. So that's the benefit for the financial sector. On the other hand, you have also a part of the financial sector which is busy with group financing, for instance. So these are internal banks for multinational companies that do group financing transactions or treasury management. They today can make benefit of very low tax regimes with special rulings, special regimes. Sometimes they pay less than 2% corporate income tax. That, with this reform, unfortunately for them, will have to go away. So that part of the financial sector is looking at an effective increase of the corporate income tax burden. And some of them, because we know that they are very mobile, only a few people are typically involved with that, they may decide to leave Switzerland because of this reform.
That probably won't be so great for the economy.
That will have an effect, but it's, like I said, they are not major employers, so there's not a lot of jobs at stake in that part of the sector, but there is a lot of money and tax money involved there. The second part of your question was about private individuals, and of course the regimes reduce taxes in some parts, which means that there is a tax loss for the governments, and it has to be financed. The big debate in Parliament will be about how to finance these proposals for reform. And some factions in Parliament have already put something in the proposal, which is a taxation on individuals of their capital gains. So this is a very difficult part, I think, of a corporate tax reform, which introduces individual tax increase to finance the corporate tax reform. And it would be a very new thing for Switzerland to move to a capital gains taxation for individuals. And it comes on top of high net wealth taxes we have in Switzerland. So I don't think you can, in a corporate tax reform, introduce capital gains tax for individuals. And it's also very problematic. The proposals have to go through a popular vote. And so the population has to vote for a tax increase for themselves in order to finance a tax benefit for companies. I think that will not pass. So that part of the proposal will either have to go out or it may invalidate the whole reform.
So do you believe that the new legislation is necessary?
It's absolutely necessary because the EU was ready to take sanctions against Switzerland, trade sanctions. It's been very clear about that since almost 10 years now. So I think everybody in Switzerland recognizes that this reform is necessary. And I hope, and it looks like, if you look at the proposals, I hope that we can use this problem as an opportunity to actually make a tax reform which will make Switzerland more attractive for international business in the coming decade. And if you look at the proposals, the elements in there are very attractive. So if the proposals come through Parliament, apart maybe from this capital gains tax for individuals, then we will have a lot of new business coming to Switzerland.
Talking about international businesses, what do you suggest for multinational companies who want to have their headquarters here?
Yeah, I think we've seen a wave of multinational companies coming here in the 90s, and there haven't been a lot in the recent years. I don't know if it's because of the uncertainty about the taxes in Switzerland. That may be a factor, but it's also, of course, Switzerland is a high-cost jurisdiction, so moving a few hundred people to Switzerland is a very expensive operation, and you can only do it if there is huge benefits to it. Now, I am in discussion with international companies who want to come here, and I'm telling them, look, for the next 4 or 5 years, it's very clear what your taxation will be, and it's very attractive. And everybody in Switzerland is making an effort to make it as attractive after that period of 4 or 5 years. So you should not hesitate to come here. On the other hand, if you go to another jurisdiction, for instance, in the EU, it's pretty sure that 4 or 5 years from now, it will not be as good as it is today. Just look at the budgets of the member states, and you can see that taxes will likely have to go up in other business places. So I think Switzerland, with its sound financial structure and with this reform in the pipeline, is a very attractive proposition for multinational businesses.
Thank you for taking us through the latest tax reforms.
Thank you, Alex, for inviting me here today.
Well, that's all we have time for today, but we will keep you informed on all the new legislations here in Switzerland. Goodbye.